Did you know that families most likely to be involved in the child welfare system are the three Bs? Who are the three Bs? Black, brown, and broke folks. I'm Chanel Dupree, and welcome to the Skin Deep podcast. If you work with families, that previous statement should ignite your curiosity. Our purpose is to learn what we don't know, build trust with families, and ignite action on behalf of families. You are a piece of this puzzle and have more influence and power than you know. Let's go deep. Today, we are going to talk about toxic court environments. And this is important because I don't think that we name it. I don't think that we actually understand that courtrooms can be a very toxic place. And typically, it's because of the leadership within that courtroom. Who is the leadership? The judge. The judge sets the tone. The judge sets the culture. The judge sets the professional standard regarding how a court hearing is going to proceed and what the expectations are for families, for workers, for anyone who comes into that courtroom. And so the truth is there can be toxic courtrooms. Absolutely. What I will say is that I spent about 10 years in the courtroom representing children, parents, aunts, uncles, grandmas, sisters, brothers, cousins in many different phases in a child in need of care court proceeding. The place where I practiced, my judge was very professional. She cared, basically, like she truly did care about the families that were being served. However, that is not the case for all of the courtrooms that I practiced in, and that's not the case for when I was an administrator. I was responsible for 5 different counties. There were 5 different judges, 5 different courtrooms, 5 different workers. It was all different in those 5 different counties. And I at times would receive information that some of the judges were behaving in ways that were contrary to, quite frankly, the oath that they took. So let's get into it. What are the 3 different ways that a courtroom can be toxic? One of the ways that a courtroom can be toxic is if people connected to the child don't have an opportunity to speak on behalf of the child or the family. And that can be because the judge is overscheduled. There's too many cases on the docket, and every case is getting 10 minutes. And we want to talk about what has happened over the past, 6 months, 7 months in 10 minutes. And it's not possible. It can leave everyone feeling rushed. It can leave everyone feeling like they didn't get to say what they had to say. And now they have to wait literally 6 more months. And there can be important information that can be shared during that hearing. Now, the workaround for this is that there are some folks that are able to write court reports. So foster parents can write court reports. Sometimes I've seen parents write court reports, and sometimes parents will write court reports if they feel like their voice is not being heard. You have people who have at times really important information and they're not able to share it because of time constraints, or what would be even worse is the judge just doesn't want to hear what they have to say. And so that can be an environment where you're only getting certain kinds of information and not the full picture. And when we're making decisions about families, when we're making decisions about children, it is best to get at least the biggest picture that you can possible so that decisions can be made that are in the best interest of the child. Another way that a toxic courtroom environment can exist is when the judge talks about the family. And when I say talk about, I mean talks negatively, talks down about the family. And obviously they're not doing this in front of the family, hopefully. But the experiences that I know about is that judges are doing this, after a family leaves the courtroom or before a family comes in. And they're talking about a family with the caseworker, with the court services officer, with whoever is in the courtroom that they're comfortable with. And when I say talk about, I mean they talk about their clothing, they talk about how they smell, they talk about their names, and it is a completely inappropriate situation where a judge who is going to be making decisions about this family, about this child, is making fun of this family and this child. How in the world will there ever be a situation where there will be an equitable outcome when this judge is doing things that are contrary to their ethics, to their oath? And so if you are in this situation, I'm sorry that you're in this situation, because you likely are unclear on what your next steps can be, depending upon who you are and where you sit within the child welfare system. What I'll say is that I am an attorney and I have ethics that I have to uphold. And if I don't uphold my ethics, then anyone can call and or make a report to share with my board of ethics that they have some concerns about how I am functioning in my role as an attorney. The same thing is true with judges. Judges have a board of ethics. They are responsible for making sure that they are upholding their oath, and judges actually have a stricter oath and responsibilities to be unbiased, to operate in a way that people will feel and know that they are coming from a place of the law, not from bias. And so there are opportunities and there are ways that people can call out and make sure that the judges that are responsible for overseeing these cases do it in a way that is ethical. And this is the other thing. The judge sets the culture for the courtroom. So if it's okay to talk about parents, if it's okay to make fun of them, if it's okay to disparage their names, then what do you think that other people are going to do, especially those who have a pair of messy boots, right? They have a pair of messy boots along with the judge. And so what are messy boots? Messy boots are the boots that sometimes people put on, not really the right thing, but it's the thing that's on their mind that they're going to say. The truth is that just because someone is in a position doesn't mean that they're mature. I'm going to say that one more time. Just because someone is in a position doesn't mean that they're mature. There are immature judges, there are immature attorneys, there are immature workers, and having a degree, having a certain level of education doesn't necessarily mean that they do things the correct way all of the time. And the worst thing in the world is to allow someone who is wrong to continue in their wrongness. Another way that a courtroom can be toxic is if people who are working and on the case are constantly berated. So there is one thing to hold people accountable on outcomes and getting things done. There's one thing to hold people accountable, but there's another thing when we are berating others. And this is the truth. The berating can come from the judge, but the berating can also come from the attorneys that are on the case, because typically those are the folks that we're hearing from the most. If we don't make sure that we are treating people with dignity and respect, we're going to lose them. I remember I would be in some court hearings and I would see a worker and they would be about to go into the courtroom and I would just look in their eye and I'm like, they're about to quit. Like they can't take it anymore. And it's not just, and I'll say it's definitely not just one thing. It can be all of the things, but it really can be a hard experience when you're about to go into a courtroom and you know that because of perhaps things outside of your control, you are going to be lambasted for the world to see. And then you have to process that. No one likes to be yelled at. We are putting people at times in impossible situations and telling them to figure it out and work it out. Then we're creating a culture of blame instead of saying, okay, how can we work past this issue? How can we make sure that this doesn't happen again? Or how can we, do things differently? Or how can we think creatively? Because obviously this way isn't working, right? We have situations at times where we're giving parents a list of places that they need to go to get parenting classes. We're giving them a list of 60 and 58 of them don't do it anymore, or the number doesn't work, or they're full. Like, how frustrating is that? And then we yell at the workers and it's like, this is what they've been given. So how can we create a system that's better? When people feel that they're going to be attacked in court, especially professionals, that's not helpful, and it does not move the court hearing forward. And especially when it's like someone is always attacked. It's like there's always going to be someone. It's like we're looking for someone to punish and to blame on why something isn't done. Sometimes things aren't done because parents don't do them. Sometimes they're not done because it was like literally impossible to do them. Sometimes they're not done because the worker didn't do them. Sometimes they're not, so there's many different reasons why things happen. And I'm not saying that we should act as if it's not happening, but how can we function in a way where we're leading with emotional intelligence instead of blame, 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 shame, 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 and then we come back and we do it again 6 months later, because that's not actually helpful for families. All right, toxic courtrooms, we don't want them, but I know that you all experience them. And the reason why we're talking about this is because toxic courtrooms can prohibit families from getting what they need. It can slow down progress, and it can allow bias to creep in and to just exist. And so if you have experienced a toxic courtroom experience, let me know, because we want to call it out, name it, so that we're clear that this isn't just the way that things are and something needs to change.